They say the woods don't have ears, but that's a lie. In Blackwood Glen, the trees don't just listen, they wait for you to stop breathing so they can fill the silence with something else. Welcome back to the shadows. Tonight, we venture into a canopy where the light refuses to touch the forest floor and the path disappears the moment you look away. If you want to survive the night, keep your eyes on the screen and don't look at the window behind you. Subscribe now, or you might just find yourself lost in the static. The air inside Blackwood Glen was thick, tasting of copper and wet wool. Mark had been hiking for hours, but his GPS remained frozen at 12 p.m., the screen flickering with a rhythmic, pulsing static that mirrored his quickening heartbeat. The trees here were wrong. Their bark was smooth and pale, like stretched skin, with branches that hooked downward like skeletal fingers searching for grip. There was no bird song, only a heavy, rhythmic thrum vibrating through the hollow trunks. Mark stopped dead ahead. The red ribbon he'd tied to a branch an hour ago was being slowly swallowed. It was sewn into the bark, disappearing into a wet slit in the wood like a tongue retracting into a mouth. Panic flared. He turned to bolt, but the path was gone. A wall of pale trunks stood inches away, closer than they had been seconds ago. He realized then that the thrumming wasn't the wind. It was breathing. The entire forest was inhaling. A wet snap echoed behind him, the sound of a joint popping. Mark spun his flashlight. The beam hit a figure, impossibly thin, its limbs jagged and textured like the pale bark. It had no face, only a vertical seam that began to pull apart, revealing rows of needle-thin teeth. He tried to scream, but the forest inhaled again, sucking the sound straight out of his throat. The ground beneath his boots softened, turning warm and yielding as roots began to twitch around his ankles. Mark was never found, but if you go deep enough into the glen, you might find a tree with a patch of denim bark and a knot that looks remarkably like a human eye. Sleep well tonight, and remember, if the trees start leaning toward you, it's already too late.